What's up guys, it's TyranitarTube and welcome back to another Scarlet and Violet video. So in this video, I want to talk about the starter evolutions in this game. Again, as I'm recording this, the RF stuff still hasn't been made official yet. I want to wait for Game Freak to hit us with that before I make a video on it. But for now, this is what we'll talk about. When it comes to the stuff Ku tweets, for me, I'm more interested in when he tweets about regional variant hints or new Pokemon hints. Like, if we're going to talk about a Coinmon Pokemon that can maybe evolve into like a treasure chest Pokemon. Or some of his other hints that hint like a variant for Tauros. And I thought other people would feel the same way, but when polls are made, everyone always wants information about the starters. Like, look here, bro. Ku was almost gonna tell us a third RF, whether that's regional variant or regional fake, whatever it is. Y'all pick starters. Like, y'all pick to get like the Quilladin of information over like regional variants. Okay, but yeah, let's talk about the starter and look at some fan-made starter designs. So first, let's go through some of the information Ku has hinted about the starters. Sprigatito. Pokemon officially lists it as a cat Pokemon. It's erratic and attention-seeking and will get sad when it sees the trainer playing with other Pokemon, like hug me instead. This description can be the base of what will ultimately become its final form. For example, Scorbunny is described as always running about and bursting with energy. Sounds like what would eventually become his final form, where he's kicking that ball around like he has way too much energy. And then Sabo, a Pokemon that hides itself in the water and shoots out attacks. Literally like a sniper. It hides, it camouflages, it shoots. Now, their descriptions here don't always hint what their final form could be about, but sometimes they do. So what has Ku described about Sprigatito? He's given us two hints about Sprigatito's final evolution. And the first is that one day the sucker's gonna jump up and never land on his front feet ever again. He gonna be one of those weird cat videos where the cat is just walking now. The cat realizes, wait, I don't need these feet. This is the way we live now. According to Ku, Sprigatito becomes bipedal. I want to reassure you guys, because bipedal doesn't necessarily mean bad. I'm a part of the club that wanted it to be on all fours. For example, let's look at some fan art for it. And man, will I tell you, never look in my eyes. Never search for Sprigatito fan art. For example, here's a cool one by Trainer Mats. When it comes to cats, we have the little house cats, but we also have the big cats, which are tigers, lions, jaguars, leopards. These animals are the kind of things people thought of when they thought of the little cat evolving. This appearance that they can look very calm, be on all fours, but be savage. So that's what people thought they wanted. Here's another one by Stardust Poodle. It goes from attention seeking to going through its little phase of styling itself, covering one of its eyes, and then it becomes this pretty cool, unique Pokemon where one of its eyes is still covered and its tail has become like a vine on a plant. So even though the bell isn't a natural thing that animals should have, Pokemon do take weird features sometimes, and it feels like this bell could be something that turns into its ability. Imagine the bell is actually a trick, and it uses the bell to make opponents think they're somewhere, but they actually are somewhere else. And here's one by Juicebox in a different art style, but this one takes a pretty cool turn for Sprigatito. He's written it as a grass fairy type, and it has wings. This has some real strong starter energy vibes to it. So yeah, I wanted it to be on all fours too, but to give them some credit, it's not necessarily bad if a Pokemon stands up on all twos. And it's not a new thing that Pokemon has started either. If you think back, even in Gen 2, Cyndaquil is a porcupine on all fours, and he eventually just stands up. And Totodile, while he was standing up, the dude is a crocodile. He should have been on all fours. But somehow Game Freak was able to make it work pretty well then. But what people fear is that not only do they make them bipedal, but they turn them into mascots. Here's another one on all fours, where it's like a saber-toothed tiger and has the big fangs. And just like lions have that puffed up fur, instead it has it as vines. Hence we get the memes like this where Sprigatito starts off very small, is just grown up into a teen, and then just turns into Squidward. But people have made some pretty cool bipedal forms for Sprigatito. I think the recent starters have probably been successful for Game Freak, so I don't think Game Freak's gonna not make them human looking. But here's one of them. Now this one is pretty cool for Sprigatito because it has that thing in Pokemon where once a Pokemon goes out of its second stage, it just transforms into some next thing. So I like that it starts off as a little Sprigatito, still has this little cute face in its second form, and then just sprouts out and takes control. They've drawn it as a grass dark type with these claw feet. It looks like he'd be super fast and bounce all over the place. And it even has a grass sword that I don't know where it pulls it from. I think it just makes it out of leaves. If we're in the territory of Pokemon humanizing their final forms, something like this would be pretty cool. One thing Ku has said for Sprigatito is that he finds, and I hate to say this, he finds the final evolution to be waifu-like. So I guess he means it has like a Gardevoir-like design. So here's one art. It does have some cool things, like the fan leaves are pretty cool. Ah, of course. Here's another one I think done well if we're making it bipedal. A design like this I think would mark all of Game Freak's boxes. There's a take like this which has some cool stuff. It's got a big leaf coming out of the side of its head, and I think one of its claws can come out of the center of its palm. Like, would it stab people like that? Oh my goodness, they're everywhere. But I think my favorite when it comes to Sprigatito's final form, if we have to mark all of Game Freak's boxes, is a fake leak that surfaced about it once. So here's the video of it animated. It's kind of floating up and down and has a grass cloak. This one's pretty tolerable. Okay, so I actually came across two pretty cool designs while editing this, so I want to show you guys them. The first is this with Sprigatito on all fours. It's got the fangs, it's got the vines coming out, and it's big and beefy. You'd feel really happy using this on your team. It feels like a starter. And then for a standing Sprigatito, here's one pretty cool design. It's not too over the top, even if it's a little humanoid-like. You can get a sense of its personality. It looks a little cocky and trickster-like. It's quite a good evolution from Sprigatito. And this is just so cool right here. It's like the reverse of a flower. Maybe this would tie with that fake leak for my favorite design. It's not confirmed, but the rumored type for Sprigatito's final evolution is something like Grass Dark. The dark typing would really fit well for a savage Sprigatito on all fours, but don't lose hope yet because maybe it'll look cool still. For stats, we don't really know anything for me to talk about stats or abilities, but I would imagine it's a physical attacker. There ain't no way a big cat Pokemon like a tiger is gonna like hyper beam. It's gonna be slashing the opponent. But then again, it is standing, and they probably won't just make it a Grass Incineroar. So let's go with high special attack and defense is the focus, with a weakness in its physical stats. And then we'll make the speed and HP decent. You know, a stat spread like this would actually be pretty fun to use, especially if it got some cool grass moves. Ku has said something for Sprigatito's ability, in that apparently it is God tier. God tier abilities would be like what Greninja and Cinderace has. I don't think Game Freak would make a third Protean in a row, and especially if Ku calls it a God tier ability, it would sound like something not obvious like Protean. But I'll leave that for you guys to speculate. Maybe it's some kind of Volt Absorb but for grass types, though that isn't exactly God tier. God tier would have to be some craziness, like adaptability, where grass moves do double the damage. We'll see. Moving on to Fuecoco. Pokemon officially calls Fuecoco a fire crocodile, and they say it is laid back and does things at its own pace. It loves to eat and will sprint towards any food it finds with a glint in its eye. Now, I think if we translate his Chinese name, that it translates to something like stupid or dull crocodile, which matches the description. I think Fuecoco is supposed to be kind of an airhead. So I think here it's meant to take a 180 from its description and become the opposite, become this scary, monstrous crocodile that isn't stupid anymore. Though how funny would it be if it's fully evolved and still pretty stupid? Even in its final form, it's sticking like its mouth over Ash and biting him. Now that I think about it, Fuecoco probably would be the Pokemon Ash gets. So in terms of what Fuecoco would eventually become, Ku's kind of narrowed it down to 4 possibilities. Either Fuecoco is gonna go on all fours, how hilarious would that be? And be kind of like a dog, which there's no way. Or he's gonna build up strong and take like a T-Tar or Fraligator like body. That sounds possible. 3, he's gonna become straight humanoid and mascot like. That sounds very possible. And then 4, he's gonna become like a snake. Now you'll notice what's not listed on these 4 is just a classic crocodile design, like a big sandile. The only way crocodiles look like in the world, Game Freak has yet to make a fully evolved crocodile that looks like that. So unless this is supposed to be that somehow, it seems that's not on the table. The 2 most popular ideas would be something Fraligator-like, where he stands up and he's big, or the snake-like design. And there's something cool. When it comes to the fire-type starters in Pokemon, you may have heard this before, but coincidentally, every fire starter falls on the Chinese zodiac wheel. Okay, here it is here. Let me fill it in. And you'll notice each Pokemon only fits once too. Here's Charizard, he's a dragon. Typhlosion is like a honey badger or rat. Blaziken's a chicken or rooster. Infernape is a monkey. Emboar's a very big pig. Delphox is a dog. Incineroar, of course, is a tiger. And Cinderace, oops, you're huge. Cinderace is a rabbit. So every single Pokemon specifically works with the wheel and only fits once. Granted, there's some weird ones, like it's Rooster, but technically Blaziken's a chicken, and Typhlosion, or you're not even a rat, you're a freaking honey badger. But it's still impressive nonetheless. So that leads the final 4 slots left as an oxen, a snake, a horse, or a sheep. Maybe it can become an oxen, but that's like a bull. The closest thing is if it becomes a snake, or snake-like enough, which is why people want it to be either 2 or 4, but it's on the list. Another hint for Fuecoco is Ku posted a picture of Fuecoco and showed us 4 features on Fuecoco that could be the main focus when it evolves. The hair, the face, the patch on its stomach, and the body shape. If the body shape is the focus, it could become snake-like. I think the body or the hair are probably the center points that Ku is referring to, since the hair looks like the leaf part of an orange for no reason. It'd be weird if Game Freak put that touch on Fuecoco and then it's just missing in its second and third design. You think it means something. I don't think the face is what's gonna expand, but there are some cool fan arts of the face expanding, which I'll show you in a sec. The last hint Ku has given us for Fuecoco is that this gif right here of Fuecoco jumping up at the sight of an orange, its ability relates to this somehow. There's 2 options for this. On one hand, it could be something like glutton or unnerved that have to do with berries. Ku is laughing, so he's either laughing because Fuecoco really sucks in terms of his ability, or he's laughing because this gif is a trick. If it's something that you have to know the ability first and then look back at the gif and realize what it is. By that I mean something like Magic Bounce, where now you look back at the gif and oh, Fuecoco's bouncing up and down, that's what he meant. Or like Fuecoco has some kind of wind ability. Maybe when Fuecoco's final form is sent in, it sets up a tailwind. What if Fuecoco's final form was so heavy that it falling to the ground actually set up a tailwind? When he laughs like that, it feels like it's something weird like that. So you see the wind in the gif? That's what I'm talking about. Okay, now let's look at some Fuecoco designs. I've seen a lot of cool designs for Fuecoco. I think it's the fan favorite. So this one is really cool. It has the flames on its back. Those are flames, right? For this one, the face is the center point to its evolution. It's kind of like an in-between between Fraligator and a classic crocodile. If it turned into something like this, it would be the fan favorite. The shape he takes is one of the ones Ku put on the table, so you never know. So remember the whole snake thing? Here's one made with Fuecoco turning into a snake pretty much. But what's cool is that the artist kept the whole orange fruit thing going. Their idea is something like a chili pepper plant. So its middle stage is wrapped in like the vines of the plant, and the final form is stunning pretty well. This man's got berries on his head. His tail is berries. This design is so quickly acquired. Once you look at it for like 10 seconds, you end up really liking it. But yeah, this could be one of the ways that he eventually becomes a snake and somehow the Chinese thing still works. One rumor typing going around for Fuecoco is Fire Ghost. Remember, these aren't confirmed. But if you look at the way Fuecoco looks, yeah, he's kind of like an orange. I only call him an orange because I don't know what that is. But you could also look at him as some kind of chili. And so something that works pretty well with the rumor that he could be a Fire Ghost type is a ghost chili. So here's a design here. He's kind of T-Rex like over here, but it seems like his center form is I have no idea what he's doing there, but it seems like they made it so it's like a skull in his face, but his body is chili like, thus the name Suchili. The only question is a ghost chili popular enough that Japan would make a Pokemon around that, even though it's not called ghost chilies in Japan, unless it somehow is.
Ghost chili.
Here's one idea which builds off the pepper idea more. He still keeps the patch on his stomach for some reason. But yeah, here the thing on his head turns into the actual chili and he looked like a giant pepper. A chili Pokemon would be horrible to encounter in the wild. Anything that ever fights Fuecoco would be crying, regretting it. Here's another design. This man looks like a ticking chili bomb. So Fuecoco's face. Some people see it as like apple. It looks like apple, the inside of an apple. But other people will see it as like a skull. So here's one idea where it is a skull and he's on all fours like an actual crocodile. And he looks like he's actually kind under there. You know, starter Pokemon have that weird phase when they're a teenager. Dartrix, D-Watt. Here's Fuecoco. Here's those dark ears he doesn't want people knowing about. Poor guy's one tooth turned into two. Poor guy styled his hair like that and thought it was cool. But here he evolves into a pretty cool looking crocodile where the thing that starts off on Fuecoco's head turns into his whole hairstyle. They turn these little dark claws into whole armor pad like things, and he actually looks pretty cool. Okay, last one is kind of a, what's it called, Quetzalcoatl? Fuecoco's hair is everywhere here. The patches turn into something and it actually gets the shape of a snake. This design is cool and it fits more for like a legendary than a starter. So that's Fuecoco. Do you think Fuecoco would be a crocodile, a snake, or somehow none of the above? You think he's just gonna turn into a dinosaur somehow? My favorite is still this center stage form right here. It looks so Pokemon. Okay, last but not least, Quaxly. Quaxly, in terms of Ku, we know nothing about. The only thing we know is that of the 3 final starters, Ku's favorite design, yes, we all want to hear about his thoughts. It's okay. Ku's favorite design is Quaxly's. His final evolution. So, despite his laughing at Fuecoco and his waifu eyes on Sprigatito, Quaxly is who he really has eyes on. That's all we know about Quaxly. Let's read Quaxly, the book. Quaxly, goodness. So Pokemon describes him as the duckling. He is a serious mannered Pokemon who will follow in its trainer's wake, and it is very tidy. It does not like its head getting dirty. So Quaxly is supposed to be the super serious, almost angry looking little Pokemon that everyone instead just finds cute. Now, there isn't any hints really in his description aside from him being tidy and not liking its head getting dirty. Quaxly's head is kind of like a starter sailor's cap, so maybe it's a very important thing that will eventually become like a big pirate's hat, which is why Quaxly takes care of it, and Quaxly himself will become a big pirate. There's not much else to say here. The only other alternative is that if he's not a pirate, then he's the answer to the ugly duckling story, and he just becomes a swan. Check this out. Quaxly has strong legs and can swim even in strong currents. In battle, it likes to kick its opponents. So maybe these flappy feet turn into the main way he attacks when he evolves. So here's one popular design for Quaxly where he just becomes very handsome and JoJo-like. So of course his hat does end up becoming eventually this whole pirate cap. His feet develop pretty well just like described. So while his hands are busy styling his hair, if that's what you even call it, his feet is what will be doing all the work. Here's another design that's pretty cool, but it makes him turn into a ghost type, which is a pretty sad story. That means he's a super confident little duckling, he goes out to sea, and then the sucker just dies. He dies, but he gets humbled. Squaler? That's a good name. Okay, the art style is different for this one, but it's an interesting idea. This one is based off Don Quixote, the story with the guy and his horse. But why would Quaxly, who goes out to sea, suddenly be riding a horse? Goodness, a horse made of water. That would be a trippy story if you're sailing on your boat. Click, clack, click, clack, click, clack. This guy's running across the frick. Of the ugly duckling story, here's one where he takes on more of his bird features rather than the pirate features. This design looks more fitting for like a legendary more than a starter though. So here's fan art when Quaxly has taken a turn. Everything he's held in pride, his hat, his cleanliness, goes out the window, and now he just fights to survive. Here's one design which is a different turn than what you'd expect. But as you can see in the artwork here, he'd become this swan that when it sails, especially the way its hat looks, it's not only a pirate, but it looks like a giant boat too, which I think is pretty cool. It looks like when fighting, it would still mostly use its legs, and it's a cool turn. The rumor typing for Quaxly's final evolution is water fighting, which we have to wait to see these rumors, but if it does turn out true, then it would add up with how he kicks opponents in the face. Here's something pretty hilarious. So Quaxly's hat, you thought it would become a pirate cap? Nah, in this one it became a fish, a whole like shark, which would mean that when he swims around, the top of the shark will poke out of the water and people will stay away thinking it's a shark. They even made one form where the top of his hat is a boat, but you know how small that boat would be? Then there's this art, which is when Quaxly is like the sensei of an anime. He comes down to save the day. And then there's this one where he's just become the chore boy of the boat, which, yo, as hilarious as this is, how much of a 180 would it be if this man beats your ass? If Quaxly's the best starter and he just got a big scrubbing brush in his hand. Of course it's not the case though, because he's probably gonna kick. And then there's stuff like this, where he grows this really big figure, has a calm looking face, but will beat your ass. Look, he's crafted a water bomb here. Do you understand this? He's created a bubble, then he's blown into it and stuck a feather in it. But it's sadly not a grenade. He tosses it with the feather and it explodes like a bomb. He's so pacifist looking that I like it. For Fuecoco stats, of course, we still don't have much to go on, but I would think if he does become a big crocodile, he might have a really big HP stat and then be a mixed attacker. Some pretty good defenses, but probably not be very fast. For Quaxly stats, I can't really go anywhere. He could take any turn, but because he kicks people in the head, I would think he's gonna have a big attack stat. The speed and defenses depends on how small he is. For some reason, a lot of fan favorite Pokemon tend to be the skinny, fast ones like Greninja and Blaziken. So if Ku was drawn to the Quaxly, maybe it's got the high speed, low defenses set. Alright, I'm gonna call it quits here, guys. Go on and shank that like button. Let me know what you think will become of the 3 starters. And I'll see you on the next video. Take care.
Bitch, I'm a pro.